What's going on? I'm Barry.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Brent. We are from the band Shinedown, and you are watching and listening to Linea Rock.
Ta-da!
Hi guys!
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Shinedown, to Milan, and welcome to Linea Rock.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Great to have you here. We are actually one of the first stations in Italy that put on your music. Okay, this round of applause for us. Okay.
Grazie.
So the new album, Attention, Attention, delivers very strong, thoughts and deliberations on human spirit, hard life struggles, survival. Has the inspiration behind this concept much to do with the world we're living in nowadays, or it mainly is a result of an introspective reflection that turns out to be a universal message, starting from the inside?
I mean, the record actually started from internal struggles and internal issues, so it came from us. It really was written about our life over the past 2.5 to 3 years, but what we like to do in the band is we feel like we're, especially Brent, lyrically being extremely honest about what we're writing about, and we never make up stories. We write from a real place, and so we feel like because of that, the listener can take the things we've experienced and written about, and take those things and apply them to their own life.
Right.
And really pull something from the message that can help them.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again too. I mean, because the album, and I am counting, it's only 54 days old, which is very unique for us because it's probably one of the most, even though it's very new, it's a very, very defining record for us. I can say that because, of course, we all were involved in the process from creating it. And then it was the very first record that we decided to produce it ourselves, because Eric is way more than just a bass player, and he produced the album and he also mixed the record as well. But the whole dynamic of the album is the fact that it's about not being afraid to fail. Okay. Because I think that people will sometimes put themselves in almost a psychological and even a physical trap sometimes by not going outside of their comfort zone, because they think that they're not going to be able to succeed in whatever that is for them. The reality, I think, just over the years, we've all found with the four of us that you're not going to be defined by your failures. You're going to be defined by the fact that you don't give up.
All right.
And we couldn't have written about anything else. But the other big picture here is it's not about the painter, it's about the painting. We feel like this album is extremely necessary. And to be quite honest with you, I think it's a record that the world really needs right now.
This is your very first concept album, even if I know that you prefer to
story
define
album.
Story album. Okay. Why now for the sixth album? And was it harder this time for you to handle it all? Or on the other way around, having a theme and a concept to follow made the working process even easier, and the inspiration flow easier.
Mr. Kerch?
I don't think any record we ever do is easy.
Okay.
It's always hard. Coming up with a story for this, we didn't sit back and go, okay guys, we're going to do a concept for story record. The songs, as they started being written, tied together, and then Eric in the producer mind kind of said, hey look, this is a story. These are all connected, so now we need to write to make these connected. So it wasn't at first an intentional thought.
It wasn't
the
a plan.
songs made it happen.
Okay.
And then we went with that, and I think it made it easier in some ways and harder in others.
Okay.
It was easier because we knew we had the songs. We didn't write as many songs. It was harder in trying to tell that story and get the correct order and the right songs to fit in the right places, and that really was a difficult thing. But in the end, the passion that all of us put into it and the hard work that all of us put into it, it's made it one of my favorite records to date that we've ever done.
I think that, to Barry's point, I think the struggle wasn't writing the songs, the struggle was finding how they all fit together once they were written. I mean, the songs, some of these songs took a lot longer to write than anything we've ever done. So the song, some of these songs took 4, 5, 6 days to finish, which is sort of odd for us. Usually it's 2 to 3 days a song.
Human Radio took 3 months.
Human Radio took 3 months.
Wow.
But all of that being said, they sort of wrote themselves. There was never searching for what the next thing should be. It just kind of happened, and each piece of subject matter just sort of appeared when it was supposed to appear. And like I said, as far as the producing side of this, I always said I felt I knew what the record wanted to be. I think the record was actually a living, breathing thing, just sort of guiding all of us in a certain direction to end up where it ended up. And there was never any reaching or struggling or trying to find pieces to fit. They were all there. It was just, once you had all the pieces, it was, this one needs to be here, this one needs to be here, and that was it.
Do you live it as a new challenge in a sense, since, you know, the fact of having a story album is something new for you? Is it, at this point of your career, like a new challenge?
I wouldn't call it a challenge. You know, to kind of interject where he left off too, I think at times, anything that you do that's creative, when there's an artistry involved in it, there is a balance inside of it where, especially when you're as close as the four of us are, you don't want to overstep certain boundaries. You don't want to cross the line with each other because you kind of know how to push each other's buttons. But we've never really even been like that. I think the dynamic of why Attention sounds the way that it sounds and why the songs are so poignant is we pretty much just removed the line.
Okay.
So it was more about really seeing the whole picture. You know, the more I talk about the album, the more I think about the record. Because in the last 2 weeks since we've been in Europe during the festival season, I've actually listened front to back to Attention quite a few times just to kind of listen to it as a fan instead of being in the band. And now each time that I listen to it, I find more and more, just in my opinion, there's a lot of profound statements on it. And I'm not trying to say that, like, look at us, we came up with these great ideas or these great patterns or these great melodies or these great hooks or what have you. You know, when I remove myself from being in the band and just listen to it as a fan, it's just a badass record.
Yeah, it is. And the fact of self-producing it, as you already mentioned, certainly gave an extra kick to it, since you know exactly what you want. But did it also give extra pressure, extra work, you know,
we got to watch
especially for him?
We got to drive him crazy and watch him go crazy.
He's got a good way of explaining this, though.
I just said that I would rather go crazy making the record than go crazy watching someone else make it.
Okay.
And trying to tell them how to do it. There's a lot more pressure, but the thing I like about it is there's no one else to blame if there's something wrong with it. You can't look at someone else and say, yeah, but it would have been great had this happened or this happened. It's all on you. And I much prefer that. I much prefer being in charge of my own destiny. And we were kind of that way as well as a band. Just it was the right thing to do for this record. Whether it'll be right again, I don't know. But for this record, it was absolutely the right choice. I still don't think I've come completely out of the fog yet. I mean, that sounds weird after being done this far after. I'm still just I'm just starting to kind of, you know, look around a little bit. I'm coming out of the hole a little bit and looking around. The record's done, so it feels good that it's out there and the world's hearing it. So.
And something else to make a point about, we're very, not that we didn't earn it, but our record label for the past almost 2 decades, because in America, we're on Atlantic Records, and we have been for close to 2 decades. And then from an international standpoint, under the Warner umbrella, you know, we Elektra Atlantic, that's how we're presented from the international side. But in the United States, when you talk about some very, very key people, Julie Greenwald and Craig Cowman being 2 of those people, they've never, ever told us what to do, and they've never rushed us.
Okay.
They've actually always allowed us to be ourselves. And I got to give credit to another individual who is our A&R, which is a gentleman named Steve Robertson, who didn't call Eric one time.
Wow.
During the process. He hadn't heard anything
That's
yet.
big trust.
Yeah, he hadn't heard anything yet. And it wasn't from a standpoint of like he wasn't interested. It was just the communication that me and him had. It was everyone was aware of, let them do what they do. And when they're ready, because Julie always asks me, she says, did you bring me the goods? And luckily, we've been able to, going into 2 decades, I've always been able to go to her and say, yes, ma'am, we brought you the goods. So I got to give credit to them just allowing us to be musicians and songwriters and artists, because I know sometimes other bands and other artists, they have a different idea or they have a different relationship with their record label. We've been very, very lucky that we have always been able to be allowed to be ourselves, be who we are, and create the music that we feel is important.
Well, you proved you were right, since you sold millions of records. So they have a good reason to trust in you.
But it's
a balance.
It's definitely a balance.
Okay.
There's a lot that goes into it.
All right.
And I think that sometimes the labels don't get the credit that they deserve from that side as well. But it definitely takes.
It takes a lot of people.
It takes a lot of people
to make a successful band, and that's something that I think that you hear bands that will talk trash about the label and about their management, about all this, they've maybe had a different experience than what we've had, but I think they forget how many moving parts there are to make a band like Shinedown a success.
So attention is a warning, of course. As you said, it's the right record at the right time. Sounds also a bit like a last call. But what's the meaning that you're trying to deliver? The message, there's hope or there's not hope?
My gosh.
Pay attention.
Pay attention, no pun intended.
Okay.
Pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to yourself.
Pay attention.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just a lot of these subject matters were born from substance abuse, depression. The warning signs are there, but we didn't pay attention to them, and they got the best of us, however you want to take that. And you have to respect those things. They're always there. They're always going to be with you. Those little pieces of yourself that can destroy you. If you don't respect them and you don't pay attention to them, they can reach back up and bite you. And that's not just for you, it's for the people around you. Meaning for me, that means my bandmates and the people who I surround myself with. We also have a responsibility to each other to pay attention to what's going on with each other and to take care of ourselves. So that's what to me, that's what it means. That's what it's always meant.
And what he's saying is very, very poignant and very, very real. But for the album, there's a reason why when the album opens up, there's the knock. The door opens, you walk in, you pull the chair up, you sit down, you take a deep breath, and you exhale, and Devil begins. Okay. It was all about the individual with this album. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter your religion, doesn't matter whether you're younger or older. It's everyone. Okay. So we want the listener to put themselves inside that chair, in that room. And as you go on this journey, at the end, there really isn't an end. There's a beginning, a middle, and a finale. But the last thing you hear on the record is, till next time. So your journey never really ceases. You know what I mean? It never really ends. You know what I mean? Yeah. It all depends on, the human spirit is an amazing thing. I've said it time and time again. And I think that this record is a wonderful expression about not only communication, but once again, don't be afraid to fail.
Okay.
You're not going to be defined by that. You'll be defined by the fact that you did not give up under any circumstances. You
have a very strong bond with the song Simple Man from Lynyrd Skynyrd. You released the cover of it on the first album. Played it very often in your set list, and I saw that it's in the set list also tonight.
I don't think we'd get out of Italy if we didn't play it.
Okay. Is the message, delivered by the new album some way connected to the, losing the value of simple things in lives, which makes us real, which is in that song.
Yeah.
Other two things, connected in a sense, that was the first album. You picked that cover. Now you're talking about, the fact that you don't have to lose yourself, and you find a motivation to go on, and maybe simple things can be a way to start back, and giving the value to real life and family and so on. Do you think that maybe the two things can be connected in a sense?
Absolutely, because that's artistry. But I'll tell you something interesting about Simple Man. Simple Man wasn't picked.
Okay.
Simple Man, the unique thing about Simple Man is that happened
It's
on
a happy accident.
It happened on a whim, actually. And the unique thing about that is once we did actually record it, it kind of took on a life of its own. Because I don't sing it like Ronnie. And I just, I was going off of the way I felt at the time.
Okay.
And, I look back at it differently now and moving forward. At that time, every night when we play that song, because there was a year that we didn't play it. So when Sound of Madness was released, for the first year of the album cycle of Sound of Madness, we didn't play Simple Man. And then
I saw you at Sweden Rock Festival. You played that.
Yeah. But the point I'm making here is about a year into that, we were in Boston, and of all places, that's where the Simple Man cover was born. It happened at a radio station. And Sully Erna came to that show of Godsmack, who we're doing a co-headline run with in the United States. And we didn't play it that night, but he came. I didn't know he was coming, and he brought some friends and what have you. And then later at the end of the show, there were people hanging out at the foundation room at this, venue we were at. And he found me, he went right up to me, and I was like, dude, I didn't know you were coming. He was like, come here. And we went into this other room for a second. He was like, why didn't you play that song? I'm like, what song? He's like, why didn't you play Simple Man? And I'm like, because I just didn't want to. He said, that's not your song. And what he was saying was this: it's not your song anymore. Just like when we went in and wrote Attention, Attention, those songs aren't ours anymore, they're the world's. And he was making a point about, you can't show up and not play a song that means a great deal to your community and your fan base, because it's not yours, it's theirs. And that's what you can't lose sight of. We've always said this, and it holds true. We have one boss, and it's everyone in the audience.
Wow, good point. Actually, you possess the song so much that even if it's not yours, but the way you play it, and the energy, the strong meaning that you give to it, you have to play it. The people expect it. It's so I'm happy that it's in the set list tonight. 23 Shinedown singles over 15 years reached the top 5 in the Billboard Mainstream Charts. What a fantastic achievement that, not many bands
just getting started
can claim, and you're just getting started. That's a good part. Okay. How do you explain that? And do you feel as hit makers, or this has given you a certain pressure, because you have to make the next hit?
I explain it by not writing songs because we want to try to be famous.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, don't write a song because you think it's going to make you famous. Write it because it's who you are. And write it because it has merit, and it has value, and it has worth. And somebody will hear it if you stick to that, and you'll have a career.
Just be honest.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm always the most proud of in this band, and I'm not a lyricist. Brent is the main lyricist, but I don't write lyrics. But something I've always been proud of in this band is how honest he's always been in his lyrics. Even if he's painting a picture and using some metaphors and things in that, I know personally exactly where that came from, and it's really cool to see how much the fans can relate to our music.
Yeah.
Relate to our music and come up to us and say, hey, this song means so much to me and it means this to me, and it's completely different than what maybe he wrote it about initially, but they got something.
Okay.
And that's the most important thing with songs. It's art. You want people to feel something. They might not always get it the way you intended it, but the fact that they felt something is important.
And to your point about pressure, the pressure doesn't come from that. The pressure should come from yourself. I mean, I always put pressure on myself, and he puts pressure on himself. We put pressure on ourselves to write great songs, not because of the Billboard chart, but because it's what we do, and we want to create the best art that we can. And so we keep all that pressure at home. I mean, all that pressure is in us, and we know that once we release a record that it's great, and we can't do any better than what we're putting out. There is no pressure at that point.
Last two questions. You did not tour Europe very often through the years. Why this choice? Was it your choice or it simply happened?
Go ahead, sorry.
It wasn't necessarily our choice. We have obviously a huge fan base in the States, so we end up touring there quite a bit. But it's also cost effective, and it's hard to get over here, and you want to be able to play places and everything else. So it happened later. I mean, we really didn't start coming over till Sound of Madness. And we're making a conscious effort, especially on this record, to come over here a lot more. And we also have a new booking agent over here that we started with on Thread to Survival, who's putting us in better areas so that we're able to come over here more often. Whereas before, it just kind of plateaued and stayed there to where we just couldn't make it over here. So it's a very conscious decision within this band that we want to come over here and we want to work hard over here and become a bigger household name here in Europe and in the UK. It's important to us, and that's one of the things we've always done as a band is we never rest. We always want to grow. We want to become bigger, and we want to have a career for the rest of our lives. And in doing that, we have to come over here more and gain more fans and do that. And that's it's happening.
You always mention Pantera among your major influences. We just lost drummer Vinnie Paul. Did you ever meet him? Do you have any story? And do you remember where you were when you got the news?
On Instagram 2 days ago.
Yeah, we knew Vinnie and Don very well. Actually, we crossed paths a lot when they were in Damage Plan, and then after Don's passing, we've known Vinnie since second record, really.
Yeah, we've known Rita for a long time. Rita Haney, who was Dimebag's partner. The very first time that we met them both was in a festival in Kansas City, and we played early in the day, and we were in a trailer that had a door in between and two doors on both sides. We didn't know who was going to be next to us. About 4:30 in the afternoon, because we played really, really early, like I think
1 o'clock
noon,
or
something like that. This is in 2003. And then all of a sudden you kind of hear these footsteps and people yelling and, you know, getting after it and stuff like that, and trailer's kind of shaking, and the doors open, and then Mr. Daryl Abbott proceeded to kick the door in between the two of us here, and walked in with Vinnie behind him and said, "What's your name? Who are you?" And we said hello and this and that, and he's like, "Well, I know we just met each other, but there's not going to be any separation for the rest of the day. At this moment, you might have not known us, and we don't know you, but at this moment in time, we're family. So here's a black tooth. Cheers. Let's knock them back, boys." That's just kind of the way they were, you know. And
bring you into their family.
Yeah, man. They were just. They just wanted to be. They always just had that very. Everything about rock and roll that you love. That's what they were. You know what I mean? All that makes rock and roll not a label and not a genre of music. It's why I say rock and roll is a way of life, because it is. And they embodied that. And I know that there is an incredible jam session going on right now around us. You know, maybe in a different alternate universe, but they gave a lot to not only music, but just to, in my opinion, they gave a lot to the world.
Thanks, guys, for your time.
Absolutely, thank you.
What's next for you now? Touring.
Unlimited touring.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's good. Thank you so much.
Thank
guys.
you.
See you soon. Ciao.
Ciao.